All right. So Teresa's going to be coaching Mark. All right. I'm ready to be coached. So the last time this happened was 5 minutes before the call. Julie, what's up, my friend? What's up? And Garin is here. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Hey, Julie, I love that trophy, that huge trophy that you had a picture of. Like, I don't know if it's like some type of poker tournament that you won. That's awesome. Tell me about that.
Thank you. It's part of the social poker league that we play. So a couple times a week, I play against about 20 to 30 other people, and we play down to first place. And the goal is every 6 months, there's a trip to Vegas or Florida to play in one of the championships to win up to $200,000. So for now, since being retired a year, that's my weekly grind. That's my goal. I'm reading videos, learning, watching, trying to get better.
So never gamble against Julie. That's what I got into my mind right now. So if we ever get together, I'm not going to be playing some card games for money for you. That is awesome. I got heavy into poker. Just ask Teresa. I used to get really heavy into poker. It was kind of like, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, where we used to play every single weekend, and we would like put money on it and see who would win. We were really, I mean, gambling is kind of like was my addiction for sure. But yeah, I used to do that all the time. And then I kind of have touched or lost as much interest as I had before, probably because
I can only do this because it's a social poker league. So there's no money, or else I would be on my pension. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. But it's clout. It's word. It's letting everybody know that you won the tournament. Teacher Tina, what's up, my friend? What is up? All right, guys. So let's get started. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have online poker social right now, and we're going to all play versus Julie. No, I would bet on Julie. I bet on Julie to win.
If we play Texas Hold'em, I'll be good. I think I still remember how to play that.
Do you? Julie's gonna smoke you. No money involved. Okay, no money involved. Okay, so what we're gonna do today, guys, is we're actually gonna go through a process that we usually take our success pods through. So we want to give you a taste of like what it would be like if you were in the Success Pod program that we have, because I knew that a lot of people were not going to be on today. Before we get into like what that's going to kind of like look like, and we're gonna be able to work it through in terms of how we would the questions that we would ask you to be able to identify some things. But one thing I want to remind everybody is that we're moving the calls from Saturday to Monday. So today is the last official Saturday call. Next week we won't have a call. It's Thanksgiving. There's a lot of things going on. I know you guys are going to get your Black Friday on. Julie's going to probably beat some people in some poker tournaments. Tina's going to be coaching her face off, and teaching her face off, coaching and teaching her face off. But we're going to be not having it next week, but then the following Monday, we're going to have our first call on Monday. It's just going to be like how we typically have 3 times a month. We're going to have YouTube lives. They're going to be on Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is 11 a.m. Central. Basically the same time as now, but it's going to be on Monday. And then the Zoom calls, same thing. The once a month Zoom calls are going to be on Monday. So everything is moving to Monday. I've asked Aaron to keep us most up to date by having a calendar inside of the Mighty Networks. If you go into the inner circle, you can go to the resources, and there's a place in there for the monthly calendar, just to give you an ideas of not only what we're going to be teaching and training, but the calls that we're going to have. So I want to make sure that you guys see that is going to be something that Aaron's going to keep a pulse on, so that I don't lose track of the different calls and stuff that we have. So today will be the last Saturday call. And Mike woke up like 3 hours early because he thought there was a PCC call today. And then he was late for our call here. Mike, come on, bro.
And computer issues.
Okay. Well, I typically do find that anytime I'm ready to like log onto Zoom, it needs an update. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. So I try to do it like 10 minutes early, but it still doesn't work. It always is in the middle of it. So yeah, I was just saying that today is the last official Saturday call. We're going to be moving them to Mondays, but we have a calendar that's inside of the Inner Circle Squad room. And we also have all of the past replays. So if, like, let's say you can't make some of the calls, you can go back in there. There's a specific link that has all of our past replays. I'm having Aaron be in charge of that, so that way I don't miss any of it in case you guys need any of the replays or anything like that, okay? Now, we're going to do today, kind of already talked about it, but I know we have less people today, which is good because we're going to go through what we would typically go through in a success pod. Now, here's what we're going to do is we're going to do it a little bit different because we do have a little bit more than 3 people that are on. But I'm going to be asking you some questions to really see what like pops up for you. So you guys know, well, some of you guys know, like in the coaching realm, sometimes we just come on and we ask people, hey, what do you need some help with, right? And that's good. And there's times and places for that. But if I am in a one-on-one conversation with you, there's more that I want to do than just find out what's going wrong. I want to find out what's going right. And I want to find out where you need the most help in your life. And I'm going to do that by asking questions, not by asking you for the problems that you're going through. So here's one thing that I have kind of found, and this is for coaches, but this is just for people and leaders in general, is if people already knew what their problem was, they would have already most likely found a solution. The thing is like a lot of us don't even know what the issue is. We don't even know what the thing is that we need to tackle. And if we were to come into from a place of like in our brain thinking about, oh, here's what I need help with. I need help with this specific thing. A lot of times it's actually not that thing that you need to like get coached on and get some help with. That's why asking these questions will help you get to the root of what's going on. And then from there, then we can have a great conversation around it. All right. So I want to give you a little bit of the science behind it before we actually dive in. But here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to, in the chat today, I'd like to hear everybody's answers to these questions. And then when we get to the point where we get all the way to the end and I start unmuting some people and seeing what I can do to help, that's where we're going to bring up some of this chat. But I really want to hear what comes up for you when I ask these questions. Now, just like every other time, Cheryl, what's going on, my friend? What's going on? Just like every time that I ask these questions, I don't want you to filter it. I want to hear like what came up for you when I asked this specific question. Now, for Julie, I'm going to change up some of the question a little bit for you because I do want to make sure that it applies to you. But this is for anybody who is working towards any specific goal, whether it's somebody who's working towards a business goal, a personal goal, relationship goal, a health goal, anything like that. All right. So here's the questions that I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask them one at a time, and I want everybody to type in the chat, and then from there I'll move on once everybody has typed in there. Okay. So, based off of your goals, right? Based off of whatever your goals are. If you think your goals right now are related to business, they're related to health, they're related to fitness, I want you to think about the goal or the thing that you want to achieve the most right now. Now, based off of the last week, I want you to be able to rank yourself. All right. I want you to be able to rank yourself. And here's how I want you to rank yourself. I want you to rank yourself on a scale of red, yellow, or green. Here's what I mean. When I ask you this question, I'm going to say, are you red, yellow, and green, and why? Red means you're stuck. You don't know what to do to move forward, and you're not moving forward at all. Yellow is like, I know what I need to do. I'm just not doing it consistently. And green is like, I'm actually crushing this. I could teach some people how well I've done this week. Just feels like it's on a different level, right? So red, yellow, or green, and why? Now, I want to start off with your either business or career based goals. All right. So professional goals. All right. So when you think about your professional goals, how would you rank the action that you put into them this week? Would it be red, yellow, or green? And I want you to type in why you think you rank yourself at that level. So based off of your professional goals, and Julie, for you, let's actually just think about this related to your poker goals, okay? Because that is your professional life right now, my friend. I want you to think, would you rate yourself a red, yellow, or green when it comes to the action that you took this last week towards your goals? I want to hear everybody. Red, yellow, or green, and why? So feel free to type it in the chat. Towards your professional goals. Thank you for that, Julie.
Mark, I was going to change just to relationships, but I'm going to keep it on poker like you.
Yes, because we're going to get to relationships too. We'll get to that. Mike says yellow. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome creeping in. Okay. I'm getting is yellow. Worked 12 hours again and was mentally exhausted. Okay. Tina Green, I followed up with several people, sent a few emails to my list, created a new program, lots of action, and lots of energy that seems right there. Awesome. Okay, guys. Now, I want you to think about this same question, but I want you to think about it now related to the relationships that are most important to you. All right. Whether it's a significant other, kids, people at work. Like, I want you to think about like relationships and the goals that you specifically have related to relationships. I want you to think about, would you rate yourself a red, yellow, or green, and why? So related to relationships that are important to you right now, would you rate yourself a red, yellow, or green, and why? I like it, Mike. Okay, Julie. Getting, all right. Joe, what's going on, my friend? What's going on? Jump in with the next one, okay? I'm getting everybody to brainstorm a couple things and to write out what's coming up for them in the chat, all right? Thank you, Tina. Okay. Now, the last area that I want you guys to rank yourself in, all right? And Joanne, we're rating, or Joe, we're rating ourselves as a red, yellow, or green. Red means we are stopped, we're stuck, we're not moving forward, we have no idea what to do. Yellow means we know what to do, but we're not being consistent with the actions. And green means I'm crushing it and I can actually teach some people how to do this thing, all right? We already did business, relationships, and right now we're going to do physical and mental health. So when you think about your physical and mental health, how would you rank yourself right now? Are you a red, yellow, or green? And why? So think about where you are physically and mentally right now. Would you rank yourself a red, yellow, or green? And why? Julie, how many more days do you have?
I will be done the day after Thanksgiving because of AI.
That's right. A diet. Was it Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke? I don't know, but dang it. It's okay. You're stronger than the rest of us because I don't know if I would have restarted. I'm just going to put it out there. But I don't know if you know this, Julie. Do you remember we used to have a guy in the app? His name was Kyle. A guy named Kyle. He went to day 63, guys, and then he failed. And then he started over the next day and went 75 days.
I remember. I miss Kyle.
I know. I've been reaching out to him. He hasn't responded back to me. But yeah, that is crazy. Think about 63 plus 75. I'm like, and he forgot a picture. He forgot the picture. He did everything. He did 2 workouts that day. He did everything. He's like, guys, I missed the picture. And I was totally ready for him to say, I'm done. And I'd be like, okay, cool. But he's like, I'm starting tomorrow. I'm like, interesting. He went 75 more days. Crazy. Yeah, huge integrity. All right, guys. Red, yellow, or green, and why? Related to physical, mental health. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Getting. I'm still facing the coughs myself here. We'll see if I can hold it together. All right. Now, here's what I want to ask, okay? When you think about when you think about this last week, I'd like you to think about what your greatest win was this last week, all right? So this is separate from the last 3 that we just did, but I want you to think about what was your greatest win this week? What is something you did that you're proud of It could be in any of these areas. It could be even in a totally separate area. But what comes up for you of like, this is something I want to share with the team because I want to inspire and motivate other people who are in here too. So what is something you're proud of yourself for doing? Maybe something new you learned, maybe something uncomfortable. I'd love to hear something that you're proud of for this last week. Type it in the chat. By the way, Tina and Cheryl took the Master Coach Practicum. Proud of you guys. Leaning in, crushing it. Good job. What is something you're proud of for this last week? Cheryl, what's up, my friend? Got 3 new clients, and I got a new client and completed 3 rides indoor. Let's reverse it. She got 3 new clients and she completed 1 lap, guys. Just kidding. Great job, Cheryl. Great job, friend. What are you proud of for this last week? It could be something super big. It could be something really small. It could be, I'm proud of myself for doing this thing. Good job, Mike. So Mike is a part of our Master Coach training program. He says, I rewatched one of the M&M videos on the manual and made more sense of it than the first time I watched it. Mike, I had to go through that many times when in my personal training because I was like, what are you talking about? All right. But when you really dive in and you listen to it a couple times and then you see, okay, how does this apply to me? Because I think what I was initially doing is pushing back against it. I was like, no. But when I saw it from like the bird's eye view, and really what it helps, Mike, is when you don't look at it through your own eyes, look at it through the eyes of maybe somebody that you're like giving advice to. That really helped me because I'm like, oh, okay, I could see how that makes sense, right? I can see how the manual only hurts that person who has the manual in their brain, not the other person, right? So it's one of those things where you could very easily run the opposite direction. Like we said, you complete 63 days and then you stop doing it. Or you can go, hey, I'm going to lean in instead. I'm going to rewatch it and I'm going to like elevate myself, right? So great job on that. Gideon says coaching a very difficult client and getting wins. I love that. Because if you can coach a difficult client, you can coach an easy one, right? Teacher Tina took on a workshop with 72 hours notice and rocked it. Watch out now. Watch out. I know we're going to get you on stage very, very soon, but that's what people who get on stage do, is they crush it like that. Great job. I see Julie, first place again in poker. Yes, and supporting, encouraging the women when they talk negative about their play. I love that, Julie. I love it. You are like the best coach who's not a coach. Like it's just the natural thing for you. You're like, I don't know if it's natural inclination of you or you just hanging out with me for too many years or what, but I love that. I could see the impact that you're probably making in those conversations, right? But you're probably also trying to read them at the same time of like, do they have pocket aces? Let me think. Joe says, starting taking action again on my business. Yes. Get over my pity party and realize I need to put myself around the right people in order to raise my standards and habits. I'm not getting closer to my goal. 100%. Thank you for taking that push, Joe, that we were having a little bit of a conversation about that, right? It's very easy. And I'm sure you guys have done this because I've done it too. And that is like, when you're trying to get yourself to take action, you give yourself one more action to take that is going to help you take more action. And it's like, that kind of defeats the purpose. I'm struggling with taking action. How is adding another action going to help? Right? So, proud of you for leaning into that, friend. Proud of you. All right. Now I want you guys to think about this. If you could do this week all over again, what would you do differently? My video is kind of lagging. Do you guys see my video lagging a little bit? No? Okay, good. If you could do this week all over again, what would you do differently? If you could do this week all over again, what would you do differently? Remember when we asked this question, it's not based off of, oh, I sucked in this area. It's based off of, I would make this tweak or this adjustment because I think it would be even like better, right? So what would you do differently? You do this week all over again, what would you do differently? I actually remember that, Julie. I remember that when you were having those conversations with your mom, where you're like, hey, I'm just going to put it out there. And just, I can only control the things I can control. And whether or not she responds, it's okay. I'm just going to show up as the best version of me. I remember when you were doing that. Have a dedicated time to learning and practice life coaching tactics. All right, Mike. I would nurture my sick husband. Oh, Cheryl. Oh. Teresa's been definitely nurturing me. I am the worst when I'm sick. Like, I am the biggest baby in the world when I'm sick. All right. Give myself more grace and time to relax. I like it. Okay. Now, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to go back to the thing that you said you would do differently. And we're going to create a plan on how we're going to implement that into this next week. All right. We usually, when we say what we do differently, we are super vague about it. We're not specific about it. We're not like, this is what exactly I would do. This is where I would add that time in. These are the activities that I would specifically be doing. And we keep it really vague, but that's not very helpful when we're thinking about what moving this plan into next week would look like. So I want you to go back to what you said that you would do differently. And I want you to commit to something that would literally be different this next week, right? So look back at this and think of, how can I inject some numbers, maybe put some time frames? How can I get a little bit more specific so that I have a plan in terms of how I'm going to make next week different? So take a look at what you do differently and share a plan with me in the chat on what you're actually going to do and what your plan is going to be for moving that into next week. We're going to get into coaching real soon, guys, but I want you to be able to start using these kind of questions as reflection questions so you can start making changes and not just having the aha moments, but actually implementing them. Teresa, I promise I'm going to let you talk. I promise. So here's how we could do it. You start out a sentence with, I am committing to, and then finish that out. So if, like, let's say you're with Mike over here. I am committing to blocking out an hour every single evening to study and practice what I'm learning. See what that means? See how that feels? Gideon, I am committing to work an hour in my business every single day. I am committing to, and then what you're committing to doing. I love it, Tina. Love that specificity. How does that feel when you write it or when you read it? When we can transform what we're saying and we can actually put it into the frame of mind of what you're committing to, there's a different feel, right? And then Julie's doing the follow-up thing right now, which is writing it down or putting it somewhere so that you can make sure that you're going to do what you said. Because when you say that I'm committed to doing something, you're not just testing it or trying it or I'd like to. You're saying I'm going to do this. And so you probably want to have some place that you can write it down or put it to your calendar or something that you can take with you from this call, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So here, I want to take you through what we did right now, but then we're going to open it up for some coaching. The reason why I wanted to take you guys through this is because I want everybody to have a plan to move forward when they get done this call. So we're not going to be able to coach every single person on this call, but I want you to have a plan that you're committing to leaning into based off of the questions that we asked. All right. Now, one of the things that I like to do is sometimes I'll use 1 to 10 questions. Sometimes I'll use red, yellow, or green. But really what I'm doing is I'm trying to get your subconscious mind to tell me where you are struggling the most right now. Because sometimes people come on board and they're like, I want to talk about business today because I want to move my business forward. And they're having such a personal life struggle that they're never going to move forward in their business because right when they get off of this, they're going to be stuck in all of the personal life things that you have going on. And so as I call out these numbers, I want you to, in your brain, you're going to do this automatically. I want you to go, oh, this is the area that I really need to focus on today, right? Now, based off of what you heard yourself say and what you wrote out, when it comes to your professional business or your professional, when it comes to your health and fitness, when it comes to your relationships, I want you to write the area that you need the most help with in today. I want you to write it in the chat. This is the area that you have the biggest opportunity for growth today. And I don't want you to think that one area is not attached to all the others because it 100% is. Can't tell you the number of people that I've helped out in their personal life and then their business takes off because there was something in their personal life when it comes to support, when it comes to help, when it comes to the manual, like Mike was talking about, that actually was holding people back from leaning into their business. And so when you think about what you labeled yourself, red, yellow, or green, take a look at that. Maybe that'll tell you where it is that you need the most help. And I want you to write either your business/professional, your physical and mental health, or your relationships. And then from there, we're going to pick a couple of you and we're going to be able to chat about that area to be able to help you out the most. So type in, what area do you need the most help in? What area is the biggest concern that you have right now, right? And then both me and Teresa are going to jump in. I'll probably coach one and Teresa will coach one, all right? By the way, who was not coached last time we had a call? I know some of you guys were coached, some of you weren't. Some of we went through the chat. Were any of you guys actually unmuted and coached last time, or were there other people that were? I think we had like 11 or 12 people that were on. Okay. All right. Getting in business. Teacher Tina's relationships. Cheryl is being helpful to my husband. Oh, Cheryl didn't write yet. Mike, coaching/business. Oh, so Cheryl's talking about relationships. Julie's about relationships. Joe is about personal life and relationships. So here's what we're gonna do. Teresa, I'm gonna let you kind of like go first. So take a look at everybody in the area that they said that they need some help in, and let's just take them through a coaching session. And basically, what we're going to do, guys, is based off of what you shared in terms of red, yellow, or green in that area. We want you to share maybe a struggle. Like if you had to think about your biggest struggle in that area, what is that big struggle it's a challenge right now that you need some help with? And then Teresa's going to help coach. And then I'm going to jump in and I'm going to pick one after that. So Teresa, who would you like to start with?
Okay, let's start with Mike and coaching.
Okay.
Cool.
So I'm going to mute myself so you guys can.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to hear you cough all the time.
Right.
All right, Mike. Okay, so what can I help you with today?
So my biggest struggle, right, is like I kind of said earlier, like a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like I'm not getting enough practice in, for one, with coaching people. So it still takes me a while to get through like their head voice and what their story is. And so then I lack that confidence that I would be able to be a successful coach.
Okay.
So then it's causing me to withdraw a little bit.
Okay. So you said imposter syndrome. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like explain that to me and how you kind of see that.
I think it's because I'm comparing myself to others when I know that's not the best practice. So I see everyone doing really well and like I know I still struggle with it. So then I get in my head, it's like, well, if I'm struggling and I can't coach someone, how can I proclaim to be a certified life coach when I can't really get them through that quickly.
Okay. So tell me about a time, recently that you started to feel like this. What was happening?
It was probably last week, or no, earlier this week. So I was having some of my normal one-on-ones with my technicians, and one of them's going through some difficult times with his family right now. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to try and help him through that. And it wasn't clicking. It was kind of all over the place. So then I just backed off of that and then just made it a regular conversation. So I missed an opportunity where I could have really helped one of my technicians out, and I didn't do it.
Okay. So you thought it was a good opportunity for you to do kind of like a one-on-one coaching session with one of your technicians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you started to coach him, right?
Yeah, I started.
Did you tell him you were going to coach him? Or you just kind of like a conversation, and you thought,
it was more like conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was trying to keep it as organic as possible.
Okay. And at what point did you start to kind of doubt yourself?
Probably when I wasn't like really asking the right questions to get what was really bothering him. So I got frustrated with myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm not ready to do this on the fly without having a better plan in place.
Okay. So let me kind of describe the fact that I see for you here is you wanted to coach one of your technicians kind of in an informal way, seems like. And the conversation started off, and you didn't actually coach him. Like, you didn't actually get him through a session. So what's the problem with that?
So I kind of feel like I let him down because I feel he needed some support. And at the same time, I let myself down because it was an opportunity for me to learn and grow, and I didn't take advantage of it.
Okay. So, you feel like you let yourself down and him down.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that make you feel in that moment?
Frustrating, because I know it's something that I'm passionate about, and I really like to help people through their issues or whatever. But I didn't do that, so it was almost like a failure in a sense, I guess.
So what do you think is the strongest feeling that you had in that moment? Did you feel frustrated, or did you feel like a failure?
I think more frustrated.
Okay. And when you felt frustrated, what did you do?
Just change the conversation instead of diving into what his issues were. We just kept it more service level, more work related. Not really addressing what clearly was probably an issue for him, that he would probably needed some guidance through, but I just ignored it basically.
What else?
Pretty much it just turned into casual conversations, more about what we're going to do for the weekend, and he had travel plans coming up, so it turned into more of like a fun general conversation instead of anything constructive.
Okay. And what didn't you do?
What didn't I do?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take advantage of that opportunity to help him with with what he was struggling with, right? I didn't plan accordingly. I went in with like half a plan to try and coach him and help him out, and instead of having like a better plan or idea of what I could have done.
Okay. What were some of the thoughts that were popping up for you in that moment?
Yeah, that I'm not at the skill level that I need to be yet to help him through some of those issues, or that I'm not smart enough or quick enough on my feet to make those connections.
Okay. So let me go through this for you, and see what you think. So you were having a one-on-one conversation with your technician, and you were going to basically try and coach him. But you didn't end up doing that. You didn't end up like actually having like a session with him. And your story is that you let him down and you let yourself down. And in that moment, you felt frustrated. And when you felt frustrated, you started to change the conversation instead of actually doing a session with him. You didn't address some of the issues that he's going through. You kind of changed the conversation. It felt like you started to do more of a casual conversation, kind of changing the subject. You didn't take that opportunity to actually possibly help him. And these are, your words, right? You didn't plan. Like there was a lot of could have, should have, would have type thing. You said that some of the thoughts that popped up for you were, I'm not at the skill level to help him out. I'm not smart enough or quick enough to make those connections. So with all of this, with the fact that, or with the thought of, hey, I'm letting him down and I'm letting myself down. And then all of these things that resulted from that. And even some of the thoughts that popped up where, you don't feel like you're at the level that you need to be able to help someone, or you're not smart enough. What do you think you're creating from that?
Oh, I created all of that, right? I created that I'm not smart enough or fast enough or at that skill level to help him out. So,
do you think you're letting someone down when you're changing the conversation or even having these thoughts about, like, I don't have the skill level, and you're kind of stopping yourself from actually putting those practices or putting those skills into play?
Yeah, I think so a little bit, because I'm, deep down inside, I know that I could help him out even just a little bit with what he's going through. I may not have all the answers, but I'd have some, or at least be able to give some kind of different perspective that would help him out.
Yeah. And it's not a fact that you're letting him down or you're letting yourself down, but that's what you're choosing to believe, right? Because even if you would have done a session that was, maybe not the greatest, that you thought wasn't the greatest, or you tripped up, or, this person doesn't know, right? Unless they're actually a coach, right? They're not.
Right.
So they have no idea, right? So even the fact that you were there to listen to maybe some of the things that he's going through, we were kind of just being there for him, that sometimes we kind of forget that could be as helpful as actually, having someone go through an entire push method, which they don't even know that we're actually doing, right?
Right. Sure.
So what do you think you can start to, and right now you're feeling, like you said, lots of different things, imposter syndrome, you're comparing yourself to other people, right? That's kind of like where that comes from, is that we think that we're not in the place that we should be because we see other people in a different place. And we start to think, well, I'm not good enough because I should be where they are. And then, we start to just kind of spin our wheels with our thoughts. And it's not that you're going to go from that place to, okay, I'm totally cool. I'm an awesome coach. Right? So it's about taking what's the next little step that you can take so that you can start making progress. So you can start to feel that confidence start to build up. So what do you think is a thought that you can elevate or a thought that you can have that can help you with that? So let's say you have this, you go back to, your technician and you're starting to have another conversation and maybe this person like has a problem and they want you to help them. Like, what do you think? What's a story that you can have?
I think the best thing I could do going into that situation is maybe let them know right off the bat, I know you're struggling with this, or this is a concern from you. Would you like to specifically talk about that? And then that kind of opens the door for them to say, yes, help me out there, or no, it's too personal. But at least then I know that that's the direction we're going. So then I can kind of plan accordingly and be a little bit more prepared and then be able to help them, even if it's just a little bit, as opposed to like withdrawing and ignoring the situation.
Yeah. And that's definitely something you can do. But remember, that's an action.
Sure.
What do you need to think about your skills and about who you are as a person so that you can actually have the confidence to be able to walk them through a situation? Why would you even want to help this person?
Because it's what I like to do. I like helping people out. I mean, I always have. That's why I've ventured in different, avenues of like fitness or health or whatever, because I enjoy helping people. Like it sparks me up, right? It's my way of giving back to the world or whatever to try and make things just a little bit better. So yeah, thinking about going in that situation, I want to say that I would just need to have it in the back of my mind that I have done this before. I have earned my certification, so I am capable. I just need to remember that.
So you've said a couple of things. The last thing you said is pretty powerful. Like you said, I am capable. But there was one other thing that you said, and you said, I enjoy helping people, and it's a way to give back to the world. Like, how does that feel to you when you think that?
It feels great, right? It feels empowering for sure.
Okay. And when you're feeling empowered, when you have that sense, what do you do then? Like, what would you do if you have this thought and you feel empowered when your technician is sitting there and you want to help them? Like, what are some of the actions that you'll take?
I would probably actually go into a full-on coaching session with them, right? Asking the right questions, finding out what's really bothering him, and seeing if there's some kind of way I can lead him to a solution that would help him out.
Now, you said the right questions. How do you know if they're the right questions?
It's more of those probing questions, right? To get past the surface. Because I think we all start off with the surface level questions, but you need to get to the deeper ones that brings more emotion into it, because then you're getting to the root of what the issue might be.
And how would you know that you're getting below the surface?
I think it comes to just like kind of watching their body language and how they're going to react and how they start to interact and just the way they answer the question. Is it still like a surface level answer? Like, oh, I'm just frustrated and it's vague, or do they start giving more specifics? So I think with the specifics, I think that's when you can really dive into what the root issue might be.
Do you think that by actually practicing over and over again, that might be a way for you to figure out some of those right questions and see if you're, digging a little bit deeper with people and viewing their body language, not just with a specific person, but just getting the practice in and like noticing some of those things in different people?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely know I need to get more practice in. I'm just not doing it.
So what do you think you would stop doing if you felt empowered?
What would I stop doing? I'd stop procrastinating. Or what's the newest fun word? Buffering. I would stop buffering.
Okay. And what would some of those thoughts be? So you're feeling empowered. What are some new thoughts that would pop up for you?
I'd be more proactive, right? So I'd set the time aside to practice. I'd actually find people who are willing to have a coaching session with me, even a practice one, just so I can get the practice in, have those different scenarios so I can be more comfortable with it.
Okay. All right. So, the facts don't change. You're going to be there with your technician. You're going to, start that conversation. And in your mind, you're going to think, I enjoy helping people and it's a way to give back to the world. And that makes you feel empowered. And when you're feeling empowered, you go into a full-on coaching session, right? You just you lean into that and you start asking the right questions, right? And you start to, look at their body language and start to dig a little bit deeper. But do you see that, that is the practice of coaching. It's not just about asking the right questions. It's about looking at body language and getting the practice in and starting to see some of the nuances when you're talking to people and in which direction you're going to go. But you have to actually do it in order to level up that skill. You said you're going to stop procrastinating. You're going to stop buffering. You're going to get more proactive and get practice in so that you can be more comfortable. Now, what do you think you're going to create with that? What do you think you'll manifest with that?
Oh, it'll definitely manifest my confidence level, right? And then I won't feel that imposter syndrome so much because I will have that more confidence and I know I can get through it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes in the back of our minds, we'll still feel like a little hint of imposter syndrome, but the fact that you're actually going in and leaning into the uncomfortable and building that confidence, that becomes louder than that insecurity. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So how does that feel now?
Feels great, actually. Feels awesome.
Mark, do you have
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah.
And I want to share a couple things, Mike. I just want to ask you a couple more questions related to why do you think your brain is trying to convince you that you don't have the right questions or all these things that it was saying? I mean, the right questions came up 3 or 4 times, but also you got frustrated yourself. You said I was coaching my coworker and I was letting myself down. I was letting him down. Why do you think your brain is trying to convince you of all of these things as they're true? They're being true.
Probably because I've struggled all my life with trying to learn and adapt new practices and ways to do things. And so when it doesn't click for me right away, that's when I withdraw and I pull back a little bit because I feel I'm never going to understand this. And I know that comes from my early days, and I know it's just a story, right? But it's embedded pretty deep. So it's been one I've had to challenge myself with for many years.
Yeah. Couple questions for me is like, how does your, like, when you think about like your struggle your whole life, how does your past have anything to do with what you're currently doing right now?
I mean, really, it doesn't.
Could you make a different decision, do something else entirely different? Like if you your whole life woke up at a certain time or did this specific thing, could you decide today to make an entirely different decision and change it all just in one instant?
Oh, for sure. And I've actually done that, so I know I can.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really powerful statement when you're like, I've actually done that, right? I've actually made that change. So when you think about like these things, when you're like, when it doesn't click right up for me right away, like if we were still to continue to have a coaching session, I would ask you, like, what are some things that didn't click for you right away, but you still continued to try and work at it, and now you're like world class at it. And now people are like coming to you to ask you for advice and direction on it, when at first it didn't click with you when you first got started, right? I know that like even your health and fitness, it didn't click for you the first time, and then you lost a ton of weight, and now you're losing it again. And there's so many things that you're like, that you has clicked, that has put you into alignment with that, right? But I'm guessing that everything in your life wasn't handed to you, Mike, and everybody, there was things you had to work with, right? But the reason why I wanted to go on this path is because our brain is going to constantly look for anything that it can look to in the past to tell you that that's just the way that it is. And what we do is we start to label ourselves, okay? There's positive labels and there's negative labels. And generally the brain and our head voice will get us to think about all the negative labels that we can come up with to prevent us from taking action. You said that you were procrastinating and you weren't coaching. That's because your brain has convinced you don't have the right questions yet. You're not good at this. It's not clicked. So when we decide to give power to that head voice, we actually live and manifest more of that head voice. Here's the thing, like right now, I'm going through a really big change that's coming in my business, and I could think of one of two different paths. I can think of the path of doing something new and it's scary, and like maybe I should do something based off of what I've done in the past and just stay protected. Or I can lean into the future and go, but I can create something that I've never created before. And it could have a huge impact for me and for my family, and it could change the trajectory of everybody that I help for the rest of my life. I get to choose which voice I listen to. You get to choose which voice you listen to. The voice of your past that tries to label you as, this is just me, I struggle, I'm the struggler. Or you can choose to believe that I can make a decision today that's different than anything that I've ever done, and I can create something new that I've never created before. But the truth is, you get to do that, not in the moments when it's easy, when you're on a call with 7 different people who are your heart voice right here. But when you're in front of somebody and you're asking questions and it's not going anywhere, that's where you got to tap into your heart voice. It's coaching yourself in the moment and going, I may not know all the answers, but I do know that I can help him, even if it's a little bit. You said those words. Now Teresa was talking about this. It's kind of like a story ladder. It's a thought ladder. It doesn't go from, I'm not good at this, to like, I'm the best in the world. It goes up to little increments. And if you feel a different feeling in your body when you're like, I may not have all the answers, but I definitely can help him because I have this certification. I have all this knowledge and experience that I've been on. He's never been on any of these calls. He doesn't even know what life and performance coaching is. And I have a skill that can help him. I just got to make this about him and not about me. Because your head voice will make it about you. You'll be like, I don't have the right questions. I'm letting him down. All these kind of things, which are actually false. They're not really truths. They're just stories that you are choosing in that moment to believe, when there's those other stories of your heart voice, which is like, I may not have all the answers, but I can help him just a little bit. Teresa gave you an idea of like, there's a lot of times in coaching sessions that I have, especially around processing pain, where somebody comes on there and all I do is listen, Mike. All I do is reflect. Because the story that I'm telling myself is the best thing that I can do for them is be here for them because they need somebody to talk to them, and they don't have anybody else in their life who's not going to judge them for what they're telling them right now. That's my job. I'll make sure this is a judgment-free zone, this is a safe zone, and I'm going to be able to place to help them, even if it's just having a conversation with them. But I have to choose that story. Because if I had chosen, no, we've got to go down to business today because I need to help you in your business and you signed up for a business, like I'd have been forcing them, I'd have made it about me instead of made it about meeting them where they are, right? So all of these things, Mike, I just want you to remember, like in that moment, it's in the moments when it's the hardest, when it's like, oh, my brain is trying to convince me that I don't have the right answers, that you go back to your brain and you say, hey, I appreciate you and I love you because you're trying to keep me safe. But I'm trying to help this other human on the other side, so I need you to shut up right now, and I'm going to focus on the voices that actually get me to show up the way that I want to. And know that this is a practice session no matter what. This guy didn't pay you. This guy didn't it's you're doing your best that you can to help him. That's what practice sessions look like. They don't look like the 10,000th session you did, which, like Teresa did right now. Like when you've done it so much, it's like, this is just what we do, right? But when you're in the beginning, it looks like not so good. It looks like Mark's first YouTube video. It looks like those things are like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I posted that about my business opportunity just like that, right? But you have to start somewhere. You have to be willing to lean in and take that first step and go, what is this trying to teach me?
For sure.
So what Teresa did is she kind of went through not only the in the moment story that you told yourself, but a little bit about the story that you told yourself afterwards. Okay. We didn't spend a lot of time on the story you tell yourself afterwards, but when we're coaching, we can coach people in several different ways. We can coach them about in the moment, right? We can coach them about right now, what's going through your brain right now. And then we can coach you on what can potentially happen in the future, right? I don't want to complicate it too much, but I want you to think about like, yes, you can tell yourself that story in the middle of it so that you can get yourself to show up. But when it doesn't go well, because you're going to have plenty of sessions that don't go well, you're going to come on the call and you're going to be like, Mark, what do I do when this person does this? You're going to hear, since you're in the Master Coach Training Program, every week, probably 5 or 10 coaches coming up and saying that. And I get 10 messages behind the scenes asking me questions like that too. That's a part of coaching. What if, Mike, you now believed that this is a part of what coaching's like and it's like this for everyone? I'm just looking at everybody's highlight reels and I'm not seeing all the behind the scenes. Because that's the truth. You're seeing, me when I've coached, I don't even know how many people, right? When I've taught a certification for 4 years now, right? You're seeing us, but this is a highlight reel. You didn't see the behind the scenes stuff that was going on, right? And so when you think about in the moment, how can I focus on this other person and not me, right? Because this is not about me, this is about them. And even if that doesn't work, and even if it doesn't turn out perfect, you can ask yourself like, this is what it looks like. This is my greatest opportunity for learning because I don't learn the most when I succeed. I learn the most when I fail and I learn. Sure. Now think about how you show up, right? You're literally bringing that, and you're already evidence this is possible. Like you're bringing that to this call so you can grow through it. Bro, you're exactly where you need to be. You're like, you just finished your PCC and yet you're having these conversations and you're coming in here and you're getting support and getting coached. Most people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't already be where you're at right now, Mike. Most people would still be like trying to hide in the back and not raising their hand about what they're struggling with, right? But you're already showing us that you're willing to learn and grow through it, right? So number one, I'm proud of you for doing that. But number two is it's not just the easy times that we learn. It's the hard ones. Times when we don't have that question to ask, right? One final thing I will say is when you said the right questions, do you know how we figure out the right questions? What do you think?
I think that's where I still struggle the most.
Yeah, I'm gonna help you. You ask any question and you figure it out if it's right after you ask it.
Okay.
You cannot figure out a right question in your brain. Just like you can't figure out the right words to say to someone in your brain. You need to say it out loud and go, is that the right one? It's not. Is this the right way? Yeah, maybe it is. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. Everybody's question is different.
Okay.
I can't have one question that I ask everybody and it's my question that really rocks their world. Everybody's different. One of the things you'll see, Mike, is when you're in an environment where you coach the same people over and over and over again, you learn so much as the coach that you know exactly what their flavor of head and heart voice is. And you start to be able to help them even more because you know that understanding of what questions to ask, because everybody's different, but you've gotten the feel for this person. You'll start to notice that if you still start coaching that same guy over and over and over again, you'll know what the right questions are. You know why? Because you'll ask a bunch of questions that aren't the right ones. And then you'll find the one that's right. And you'll be like, that's the one I'm going to ask him next time. And that's how you find it. You find it through action. All right. So I really want you to think about that, because thinking about having the right questions could keep you stuck forever. But you don't know the right questions until you ask them, right? It's all a learning journey. And then from there, you'll go from there. I ask questions all the time that fall flat, that the person's like, what? And I'm like, okay, that was the wrong question for this person. But I learn. And I'm like, okay, I won't ask that client that question again. Maybe I'll go down this path next time. But you don't know if you don't ask that. Does that make sense?
Totally.
All right, Mike. Thanks for leaning in, man. Thanks for leaning in. By the way, everybody else who was here, how did that help? Who else did that help in terms of having that conversation with Mike? I do want to. I want to go. I want to do one more person. I want to talk to Julie real quick. I know it's been an hour, but I want to go through a speed round real quick with Julie. Because we talked to Mike, which is like professional. I want to talk a little bit like relationships and stuff like that. So, Julie, you cool to chat with me real quick?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you said you are struggling with relationships. Can you give me an idea of what you mean by that?
Relationships with my siblings since mom passed last year. Specifically my older brother and my older sister.
Okay. Relationships with your older brother and sister? All right. So let's pick one of those, the one that you are looking to grow in the most right now, whether it's your older brother or your sister. And I want you to think about a time recently where maybe you had an opportunity to like have some type of connection with them, but it didn't go exactly as planned. Can you give me an idea of like what was happening, what went on?
Yes, it was a visit with them, and just real quick, speed rush. I sent him to prison for 12 years. He came out about 6 years ago. We've gotten really close. But he keeps pushing for more. And I had one of my therapists tell me, he keeps pushing. You just hold your boundaries. Keep your boundaries up. So we had a visit, and it went really well. And then after that, he kept trying to schedule more visits, but I was still working and kind of pushing back. And so now it's very surface. I can tell he's kind of like, oh, thanks for reaching out. That's it. It used to be a lot more.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, it sounds like the boundaries part of it is the part that you're like working on right now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So you had a visit with him, and he enjoyed the visit. And afterwards, tell me what it is that he said, because you said he was like wanting more. Tell me what do you remember he said?
He said he would kind of keep planning stuff to do together. Mm-hmm. And we were real busy around here with Frankie's school and everything. And he would be frustrated and just be like, well, I reached out and obviously you guys aren't available. And so I would just kind of keep pushing back saying we're not available. And that would.
So let me ask you this. So we have a little bit of the facts, and I know, Julie, you aren't a certified coach, but you've been around for long enough to understand what this is. And these are facts, are things that kind of like happen outside of us. Some people call them triggers, but they're just like things that happen in the world, and they are not either positive or negative until our brain grabs a hold of them and makes meaning of them, right? And so you have an older brother, and you had a visit, and he told you he'd like to keep planning more stuff. Then he reached out to you, and you said that you weren't available, right? So I want to ask you, like, what's the problem with that? What's the problem with communicating to him and telling him that you're not available?
At the time, there was no problem for me because I was able to see it. Okay, I'm setting my boundaries. So there was no problem for me. It just I could tell he feels hurt, wants to be more connected.
Tell me about that. When you say you can tell that he feels hurt, how do you know?
He doesn't reach out as much. I could tell by the tone of his voice. He's kind of keeping everything superficial. instead of talking about the real stuff.
Okay.
And he said one time, once mom passes, we probably won't be in touch anymore.
Mm.
And a few months later, I kind of walked him through the facts. And I said, so when you say that, what are you thinking? And he even said, well, we're not going to be in touch anymore. And that's kind of what has happened. And I've talked with him about it's actually happening what you said a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. All right. I'm gonna change up a little bit because you called out to something very, very specific. So in the moment, and I kind of want to take you back here before we go through a little bit of a tweak. In the moment, you actually were tapping into what we call our heart voice, right? You said, I'm setting boundaries, right? I'm setting boundaries I'm setting boundaries for me, but I'm also setting boundaries for him, right? And so in that moment, when you were doing it, it was okay. You're like, I have a hard voice of I'm setting boundaries because I want to set boundaries. It gets you to feel a certain way. You took certain actions and you actually manifested that you set boundaries. But afterwards, now you start to see him and he's not reaching out as much, right? Now there's an interpretation that's going on in Julie's brain. So when you think about, okay, your brother doesn't reach out as much, what's the problem with your brother not reaching out as much to you?
I enjoyed the communication we had, but then what's been happening is I'm not reaching out as much because I'm like, well, I'm not going to reach out. He's not going to reach out.
So what's the problem with that? What's the problem with him like not reaching out to you and you not reaching out to him?
It creates more distance, which is what I didn't want in the first place.
Okay. So this is creating more distance. When you go back to the moment when, your brother hasn't reached out, you had this like thought in your mind, whether it was conscious or subconscious, you're like, this is actually creating more distance, right? And I know you kind of share this a little bit. You're like, literally, he said he was going to create more distance and now he is, right? When you thought that, how did that make you feel that he's creating more distance?
In a roundabout way, I can put the blame on him.
Okay.
He created the distance.
So how does that make you feel? The fact that he's creating the distance, how does that make you feel?
It's good, like a victim. Not my fault.
Like a victim. But by the way, I want to go down this path because I know you and your previous history of being in law enforcement. How does it feel to be a victim to you?
Back then, when I got in the knockdown drag out, didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Maybe now I'm kind of like, it's not my fault. I feel it's not my fault. Feels good-ish.
So when you have a feeling of like, hey, this is not my fault, what are some of the actions that you take?
I don't reach out. I get frustrated. I feel not my fault. I don't need to do anything.
Okay. It's not my fault. I don't need to do anything. What do you do?
I focus on other people. I focus on other things. But it's always poking at me.
Yeah, tell me about that. What do you mean by it's always poking at me?
I know I feel I could do more. I know I could do more. Part of it is when mom passed, I felt like we talked about, I did everything I could. My other siblings feel guilty, but I'm kind of like, I did everything I could and some. I'm okay with it. And I want to feel that way too in this relationship.
What do you think you're manifesting? I'm gonna share these actions. What you said. You said that you didn't reach out. You get frustrated at him. You say it's not my fault, so I don't need to do anything. You say you start focusing on other people. You said, but internally it's always poking at me. I know that I could do more, and I want to have that same feeling that I had with my mom of I did everything I could and some, but I don't have that right now. What do you think you're creating?
It kind of keeps me in my head, kind of thinking about negativity, the negative stuff. Manifesting distance.
There you go, my friend. There you go, my friend. So your story is that he's creating more distance, or this situation is creating more distance, is what you initially said.
I'm getting a little drag. I don't know if it's me or on your end.
I don't know. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So the story that you're talking about, this whole situation brought up is he's creating more distance, and that kind of like made you feel like, it's not me. Like it's on him, right? The action that you took is you didn't reach out. You got frustrated. You said, it's not my fault. I don't need to do anything. You focus on other people. It's still poking at you though inside because you know you could do more. And you want to have that feeling of, I did everything I could in some, but you're not. And what you actually manifest here is that you're also creating more distance away from him. So it's not only a manifestation for him in his push method, but it's a manifestation for you in yours. because you've already said that you're not doing that stuff by reaching out to him and having that conversation. And something is poking at you where you're like, but I can be the bigger person here, right? You said it actually when you were talking about your mom. You're like, all my other siblings didn't, but I did. And then you said it with like a pride of like, that's what I do kind of thing. But yet you're not doing that with your brother because you're focused on the story of, well, he's just creating more distance. And it's not my fault. This isn't my fault. This isn't on me. And when we shift that, when we shift the blame, when we, point fingers, become the victim, we don't take any control of the things that we can control. Because it's very easy to just say, nope, this person did this. This person said this. This person's pulling away, so it's only natural for me to pull away. And the answer is it's not, right? It's something that is deep for you, and you're like bringing it up on this call. There's got to be something that's in there that's like, but no, I want to show up differently. I want to do the best that I can. And I know because we've talked about heart voices with you, Julie, like especially around your mom, thinking about like, I can show up as the best version of me. I can't control what he does, but I can control what I do. And if I take these actions, I will at least know that I did the best that I could, and I'll leave the rest up to him. So when you think about this situation with your brother, I want you to think about like, how do you want to feel about this situation?
I want to feel that I did the best I could and be okay with that. And be okay with that.
Now, I know you've done this before where we've had conversations about that, and you're like, with your mom, you've been able to tap into that and say, I just want to feel like I did the best that I could, right? What was a story? What is this, something that you told yourself about the situation that made you feel like, hey, I'm showing up as the best version of me?
I can't.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this.
I missed that question. I missed the last question.
It's okay. It's okay. I want you to think about like when your brother is not reaching out as much, but you have this feeling inside that you need to reach out to him. I want you to think about, why is it that you do want to reach out to him despite the fact that he's not reaching out to you? Why is it so important and meaningful to even bring it up on this call today?
If you can hear me, I just missed that connection. So I'm going to call him and write him a letter this week. You're kind of frozen on my screen.
So I hope you can hear my audio. So when you said you're going to call him and send him a letter, that is an action. But what is a story? What is a thought? What is a way that we can think about this that will get us to feel like we're in control, not the victim, and get us to take that action?
I will continue to reach out to him without expecting a return call or a response from him.
Why is doing that important to you, Julie?
Because I want to continue to do what I can to feel good about it at the end of the day.
Because I continue to focus on the things I can control so I can feel good about it at the end of the day.
And have it not overtake my other thoughts when I'm trying to think about other things.
And have it not. I show up as the best version of me and bless and release his response, knowing that I'm doing my part.
Like that.
How does that make you feel when you hear that?
Strong.
When you feel strong, what are some things that you do?
I reach out and make those efforts because I know that's what I need to do for me. Bless and release. I like that.
Yep. One of the things you just said right now is really, really important. And I want you guys to capture this, okay? In relationships, most people think we do things for other people. So many times you do things for yourself. Okay? You don't even realize that. Like earlier shows, I want to be able to take care of my husband. right? When he's sick. You do that because like you want to take care of him. But remind yourself of how awesome you feel when you do that. How awesome when we give our kids a gift for Christmas. Like we're doing that for them, but really, secretly, we're doing it for ourselves. Because it's the feelings that we get when we show up as the best versions of us. So when we don't do that, not only are we not doing that for them, we're also not doing that for us. And when we realize that this is the greatest opportunity we can give them, but also a really great opportunity to give us, like Julie said, when I do this, I'll reach out and take these efforts because it helps me. Yes, it could help him if he decides, but regardless of whether or not he does, it helps me. Because we think this is a one-sum game. Like if I do this and this person doesn't accept it, then it's like useless. And I'm like, no, because there's always one part of this that it always affects. And it's you. And so when we think about relationships like that, I want you to start reframing it and start thinking about this is about him, but it's also about me. It's kind of like boundaries. This is about them, but also it's about me. It's about the impact that I'm going to make, but also how I'm going to feel when I do this, when I stick up for myself, when I take these actions. When you're faced with a business decision and you're struggling with, should I make this decision or not, right? And you make a decision, it is for the other person, but it is also for you. And when you can lean into those two dichotomies where it's like, it's for both of us. And even if that person doesn't respond, I still gain something from doing this and I'm doing it for me. We start to build up our confidence in ourselves. We start to build up the belief in ourselves. We start to build up ourselves because we're doing the things we said we were going to do, irregardless of what happens on the outside. That's what happens when you start focusing on the things you can control. You can bless and release the rest, knowing that it will always come back to you. Always, always, always.
Thank you, Mark.
So thank you for that, Julie. I hope that helped, guys, especially when it comes to relationships. Being able to reframe it in that tone helps us to show up, not just on the easy days like we were talking about with Mike, but on the hard days, knowing that we're doing this for everyone involved. We're doing it for them, and we're doing it for us. And we can see that that's going to be a win situation no matter what, as long as we take action. If we focus and choose to focus on that story, it's going to get us to take more action, right? So I would love to hear, Mike and Julie, how this goes this next week. I want to hear about the coaching sessions, Mike, Julie. I want to hear like how you're feeling as a result of this, all right? The truth is like, I care about your brother and I hope he has a good relationship with you, but most importantly, I care about how you are using this and if you're using it against yourself versus like being able to use it as an inspiration for you to keep showing up for your family like they need you. Because I mean, when you think about that, the way that you're responding versus the other people in your family, just in a different level. So I mean, you're modeling the behavior for everybody, whether or not they take the action, right? And that's sometimes a hard thing to do. So proud of you guys for leaning in. Sorry for your internet messing up, Julie. I will have the replay up in case you do want to hear the replies. But thank you guys for leaning in. All right. Next month when we have this, we're going to try and make sure that we coach people who are different, like different people get to be coached every single call that we have here. But don't forget that the calls are going to be moving to Monday after today. Not this next Monday, but the following one. And if you guys need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will put this as a replay. Like I said, Kurt will send it up. But thank you guys for leaning in. You guys have an incredible week with Thanksgiving week with your family. And we'll see you guys real soon. All right. All right. Bye, everybody.